This is Grizz's workshop. This scruffy-looking mofo is Grizz.
Not an expert, not an exemplar of safety. Proceed at your own risk.
Welcome to a cold and frosty morning, the very essence of a British winter. This is thankfully a dry one. After a wet spell, I needed to get on today while the going is good. I like to sand off the dirt outside. Although the dark look is aesthetically pleasing, it rubs off far too easy on clothes, unless you're careful. I'd rather not have the dust and dirt inside my workshop. I had a technical hitch with the angle grinder. I wanted to put a flap disc on the grinder, but the disc was stuck solid. Ultimately, when none of the other fixes work, you end up cutting the disc out to release the nut. However, the disc is solid metal, and it's a cut-sole disc worth more than the angle grinder. So in the new year, I'm going to have two angle grinders for woodworking. One that holds just the cut-sole disc and a multi-use angle grinder. So after losing an hour to tapping, heating and wrenching on it, I gave up. So I'm just going to use the shaping disc, the cut-sole disc that I have. And here's a clip of me doing the same at the end of summer, beginning of autumn, when it was a lot warmer. Anyway, back to the reason for this video. Today I'm making a stave bench, it said in the title. My friend showed me a bench she'd seen and hint would like one herself one day. Well, several months later, hint is taken. I like the idea and went with a Japanese style bench. Here are some examples I found on the interweb. I use a simple jig, a small bit of plywood and a block on the end so I can mark the legs to a consistent length. So I have to cut with the ends up and a sort of relaxed U shape, otherwise it could bind in the blade and cause some kickback. Once I have made that cut though, I flip it back over so I can cut the ends straight. Again, using the jig. Once the legs are all the same size, I now put the full length stave down with some spaces in the middle to keep them consistent and square the ends up. I screw the staves together with some shorter staves so they don't move. I then attach the legs to the shorter staves, as you can see. Whilst I was attaching them, I sanded the edges so I got a more consistent side for adhesion and screwed in place. I added stretchers between the legs to keep them sturdy, and then another stretcher joining each pair of legs, and this will create that underside arch that gives the look I'm going for. Once it was all screwed in place, I cut some plugs with some of the offcut to the staves, then glued and knocked into place. Came back the next day and cut them flush and sanded. I did regret not spending more time sanding the staves the day before, because I had to sand for hours. In the end, I ended up using the power file. It's the only thing abrasive enough to get the job done. After I finished sanding, I coated everything in boiled linseed oil. I like the way it makes the colour that gives the wood and how it brings the grain out. I followed that up with wax paste. Now, it was very cold in the workshop, so I ended up spreading it like butter with a knife before then coming back with a blowtorch and rubbing it into the wood. Once that was done, I put some lacquer on the top. I didn't use any wax at all on the very top because that's going to be coming into contact with your clothes or your butt or both. So didn't want any transfer of the wax to the clothes. So after my first coat of lacquer, I came back and sanded it down to 400 grit and added a further layer of lacquer. And here's the final look. Pretty much what I was going for. I was very pleased with it. It's solid and holds my immense weight with no trouble. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the design and the final look. And thanks for watching.
See you next time on Grizz's Workshop.